Guys, welcome to Under the Lights Part 2. In Part 1, we had former heavyweight champion Joseph Parker join us, and he spoke to us about being the social media king during the coronavirus period, and also what's next for him, when he's fighting next. So make sure you guys sort of click on a link somewhere. We're going to put a link up somewhere for you guys to watch that. In Part 2, I'll bring forward to you someone I've known for a long time in the boxing game, someone who's multi-talented, a coach, a pundit, a commentator, none other than Dave Coldwell. Dave, how you doing, my friend? How you doing?
I'm really good, thanks. I'm really good. Just finished in the gym now, so gonna go home and looks like I'm gonna spend a bit of time in the sun, mate.
Mate, I don't know what it's like where you are, but in London, it's absolutely baking. It's crazy here.
Yeah, it's getting warm. My car says 27.5, so it could do with getting a bit warmer, but it's all right. I'll have that.
That's nice. That's nice. So you have spent probably more time at fight camp in the last 2 weeks than pretty much everyone bar Eddie, I would say. You had two fighters on week 1 and week 2. So Jordan Gill first, Hopey Price this week. 2 great wins. Talk to us about that.
Do you know what? I've got to say I couldn't be any happier with them both. Because as a coach, when you work on things day in, day out, constantly for months, and then you start seeing it in sparring, that's a buzz. But then to see it from sparring to go into fight night and to just to work every single detail and just to follow everything that you've been working on and just put it all into practice, that's a real buzz for me. And so, both performances firstly from Jordan and then from Hopey, I couldn't be any happier. I'm genuinely over the moon with both.
Dave, you've been in fight camp. I've been watching the sort of behind the scenes stuff. It seems like a bit of fun for you guys. It seems like you're having a bit of a laugh, a bit of a kickabout, playing a bit of cricket. How is the sort of setup over there? Just let people know what it's like when you get there.
Do you know what? You've got to make the best of any situation, and it's not ideal. Listen, it's not ideal. Go in, you get your test, you got to be in your room, 18 hours basically. Yeah. So it's not ideal. I don't like being stuck in a room. That drove me nuts. That did. But once you're allowed in the bubble, you have to make the best of a situation. You can either just sit there and just be bored and wait for time to pass, or you do stuff. I was in the gyms training. I was in the boxing gym. I was in the fitness gym, so I would train as well. And then myself, Darren Barker, Frank Smith, and Ross Garrett from Matchroom, we'd play football, tennis. Then everybody else would get involved in bits of kickabouts, and I did a bit of cricket a couple of times, but I'm not into cricket. And they played this rule where if you hit over the fence, which is a 6, you're out. What's that about? I hit a 6 and I'm out. I'm not into cricket, but it kills time. And there was a lot of good banter and good laughs in there. So, like I said, we made the best out of the situation. And so, especially the second week, I really enjoyed the second week. It was a good laugh.
Just wanted to go back to Jordan Gill. I watched the post-fight interview that you did, and you could tell what it meant to you as a trainer, and especially because of sort of the journey that Jordan's been through. And you spoke at it at that point that he could have maybe quit boxing because of what he was going through at one point.
Yeah.
Just talk to me a little bit about sort of the progression of Jordan Gill, what you expect from him now going forward as well.
Do you know what? I've always said potentially he could be the most talented kid that I've ever worked with. And it's just that unlocking that. The stuff that I see day in, day out in the gym, and the stuff that we work on, it's just all been working. We're just about to hit 3. I think it's 3 years we've been working together now. And it always, with me and Bellew, it took a few years. For you can't just work with a coach and everything start working and molding straight away and everything being the complete package. It takes time. It's a process. And with Jordan, it's now 3 years, and 3 years, it seems to have just clicked. But what's given that a big boost was, funnily enough, his defeat to Tinoco, his illness, where his career's literally been taken away, and we didn't think he was going to box again. And that made him mature as a man, because he's come from being a kid and being, nobody believing him and as such, and you have this talent and you have this work ethic and this desire, but if people around you don't fully believe in you, that needs to be, the confidence needs to be built. And Jordan's personality was the kind of guy that he's very much a perfectionist, which is great, but you have to be able to acknowledge, rather than just focusing on what you're doing wrong and what you need to improve on. I need to improve on this, I need to improve on this. You have to also acknowledge what you're very good at, because otherwise you don't improve your confidence. Because he would be, like, say for instance, in a sparring round, he would 2 minutes, 50 seconds, perfect. And then 10 seconds in that spar wouldn't be so perfect. He'd come back at the end of the round thinking about that 10 seconds too much. Acknowledge it, yeah, and understand what went wrong and what you need to do so it doesn't happen again. But don't just dwell on it and just be frustrated with yourself because you switched off. Because otherwise, if you don't acknowledge what you're doing good, you can't build that confidence in yourself. And a fighter, to get the best out of himself, has to be ultimately a confident fighter. And over the past few weeks, few months, he just seems to have grown as a man, become more mature. Doesn't walk around as though like the weight of the world's on his shoulders. And also another part of that is working with Scott Robinson, the nutritionist, because he's able to fuel himself fully for the sessions, and he wasn't coming in lethargic, wasn't coming tired, from the previous day's sessions. He's constantly energized. So I'm able to get the best out of him for each session, which then makes for a very good fighter, a fighter that can improve, and not just improve slightly, but improve massively. So yeah, the whole bundle of it, what I've seen over the past few months in the gym, he was able to take into a fight, and now I just see his confidence going to grow and grow and grow. Do you know what I mean?
What do you think's next for him?
Well, we've been after that European title since Tinoco. That was the avenue we wanted to go to, and then obviously that put us on a delay. So we've just got to wait and see what's available, see what we can get. But yeah, I mean, he's back now where he was prior to Tinoco, really. That was a great win against Bellotti, a great performance. We'll get another fight out this year. And then 2021 will be a big year for him.
Dave, you've obviously been known for your time with Tony Bellew, and what you did with him was fantastic. You've never been a trainer who's had a world-class fighter come to you straight away, and you've just basically just not even progressed a career, but just gone into a world title. It's always been that you've had fighters who have come to you at maybe an earlier stage before they reach world level, and you push them to that world level stage.
No, I wouldn't say that. Jamie McDonnell, he had already won an IBF title before he came to me. Obviously changed a few things with Jamie and what have you, stylistically wise, but yeah, he'd already been a world champion before he came to me.
But now, in recent times, I'm talking about now you've got Jordan Gill, and I want to talk about someone you just trained right now, Lerrone Richards. He seems to be a fighter a lot of British fans are excited about. Has a slick style, something that excites the fans. You just come off a training session with him, which in a fight that we're anticipating. We don't know when the date is set for at the moment with Umar Sadiq. But just talk to me about this young talent that you've got.
He's very good, mate. He's very, very good. A real talent. I'm excited about Lerrone. He's not well known outside the boxing fraternity yet, and I think he needs more of he needs more exposure, because he's a great talent. He's 13 fights in. He's won the British. He's won the Coldwell titles. He's got bags and bags of talent, and we've clicked straight away. We've literally clicked straight away. He understands what I want out of him. He understands what I think he needs. But he's got the basics there of a fighter that's he's got world-class potential written all over him. He can box. He's got smarts. He can control the pace of fights. he's a very good fighter, and he hits harder than what you think. Looking at his record, he's not a puncher, but he hits harder than what you think. It's just tweaking a few little things. And yeah, I'm excited about his future, and I can't wait. You know, I can't wait until his career gets rolling. I can't wait until he has more exposure that he deserves. And he's, you know what, he's another personality that fits straight into my gym. He's like Jordan, he's like Hopey, laid back, not an ounce of trouble, a great student, and and a good person.
What is the latest with the fight with Umar Sadiq? Is there a sort of date in the pipeline for that?
I've been told that I'll know a date this week, apparently. So this week or next week, I can't remember what it was. But yeah, there's a date imminent. We're just waiting to find out what it is. He's had a baby. His missus had a baby, and you know, when you've the fighters that are out there understand, and people that are out there that have had kids will understand. That's a lot of pressure. That is, you know, especially when you come to the last part of pregnancy for your missus. And then to expect to dig up and leave her to it while, you know, she's going through them, you know, those last bit worries and panics and things like that. To focus on a fight and things like that, it's quite an issue, especially if you're that minded. You know, that's a big issue. And then also to add on to that, you know, it's a new coach and everything. Once it comes to it, you know, it's a kid. Oh, it's the baby's due any time now. How can you be focusing on a fight? You can't. It's not happening. You know. So I said to him, "Listen, go home, be there. Don't risk. You know, because he wanted to be there for the birth of his child. How can you mock somebody like that? How can you knock somebody? You know, you can't. So I said, go home, be there. Make sure you don't miss that moment. Because I've been there. I've been there. Thankful I was there for the birth of both my kids. You know, that's something I wouldn't want anyone to miss if that's what they want to do. You know, not everybody wants to be there. But then you have your kid. You can't just, all right, okay, I've had my kid. That's it. I'm back off. You know, 300 miles or whatever, back to training camp, and I'm not going to see my kid. You need to spend a couple of weeks to bond and for the kid to know who you are, and also not only that, your missus needs to. She's getting used to having a kid, and she needs to have you around. You know, that's human nature, and that's life. Your boxing career, and Umar Sadiq will be there for that amount of time of your life. Your kid's there for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? And so you have to put your kid first, and that's what Lerrone did. You know, he had a couple of weeks with bonding with his child. And now he's back, and now he's so much happier now. He's not got that pressure and that stress on his mind now. You know, he's back with a smile on his face, and he's fully focused on his job. So, you know, happy days.
Dave, just going forward now, there seems to be a few more fight camps. I think we got one this week, and then the next week one is obviously the big one.
Yeah.
Dillian Whyte, Povetkin. Just talk to me about that. How do you see that fight playing out?
Mate, I can't wait for that fight. Yeah. That's a great fight. I think Dillian's got a very underrated jab. Yeah. When he uses it, it's a fantastic weapon. And I think that could be a big difference in setting up his power shots, his body punching everybody knows about, you know. But I think the jab could be a massive key in this fight.
Do you feel like...
Go on, Ali. Is there any particular fight that's coming up that you're most looking forward to, or is it the Whyte fight?
That's the fight I'm most looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to Katie Taylor's rematch. I think that's a hell of a fight. Although I think this one will pan out differently to the first. Number one, I don't think Pursuin will be as good, as relentless. I don't think she'll catch Katie as surprise, you know, by surprise like she did in the first one. So I expect a better boxing display by Katie, but it's still going to be a fantastic fight, I think. This weekend, Kieran Conway and Nav Mansouri could be interesting. Yeah. Nav's very, very tough, very, very game. While ever he's in there, he won't stop trying to win. But Conway's a very, very good fighter. Picks his shots really well. That's going to be a good fight. There's Shannon Courtney against Rachel Ball. Everybody I speak, I've not seen Rachel Ball, so it's hard for me to judge the fight. But everybody that I've spoken to thinks Rachel Ball's going to win. So because of that, I can't wait to see that fight, because I want to see, everybody's telling me about, how they're expecting an upset in that one. So I think that's going to be a good one. But yeah, I've enjoyed Fight Camp. I think it's, considering the circumstances, I think they've done a fantastic job with it. And I think we're in for some more really good fights, to be honest.
I think British boxing is slowly picking up. I think this weekend we've also got Carl Frampton fighting, got Michael Conlan fighting as well. So
yeah, I mean, it's great. This is the thing. I mean, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of things to be put into place for promoters to put on shows right now. Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, MTK, they've managed to do that, but it took a lot of planning. And it's not a case of, you can just pop out dates left, right, and centre. There are so many things that are changing. There's so many things that are put into place, and a lot of the things you look at and you think, why have we got to do that? It's like visors and shit like that. It's like, why do we have to wear visors when we're all in a bubble? We've all been tested. You've got a referee that doesn't wear a visor, but you've got your judges that do wear a visor. But then the ref will swap with the judge for the next fight, and the judge will become the referee, and the referee will become the judge. The ref who didn't have a visor on in the ring with the boxers now has to wear a visor because he's a judge, and the judge who did have a visor when he was a judge now doesn't wear a visor and he's a referee. What I mean? There's so many things that just don't make sense, but they've had to put these things into place to get boxing up and running. So we have to do these things, It's not ideal, but every promoter that's putting on a show right now is losing money, and fair play to them for doing it. Frank with shows at BT, MTK doing the shows now, Eddie with what the size of the shows that he's put on, the production and everything like that. It costs a fortune. I know it's cost a fortune. So fair play to every one of these guys. And this is why it's such a worrying time at the moment, because all the rest of the promoters simply can't afford it. It's like you Carl Greaves, your Steffies, your BCB, I think it is in Birmingham, Steve Woods. These guys put on shows all the time, and they're keeping boxing pumping all the time for the lifeline for the big TV promoters. But all of a sudden now, that line stopped because they can't afford to. Without coronavirus and all the things that they have to put into place for it, and being able to have crowds, majority of them lose money on shows anyway. I know because I've done it. And you bust your balls for 8-10 weeks, whatever it is, while you're promoting, trying to break even, just so you can keep your fighters active and keep building records, building their experience. So then hopefully they get a title shot, and then you can start getting good money on TV shows. But with all the things that they've got to do for coronavirus, they can't afford it. Simply can't afford it. It's just suicide. And that's why now you're not going to see small old shows. And so now we're relying on your MTKs, your Eddie Hearns, and your Frank Warren. And I still see on social media how a lot of fans are still slagging them all off and saying this, and rah, rah, rah. Mate, this, even down to crowd noise or not crowd noise, who cares? You've got boxing back on TV. I don't like crowd noise, but some people do like crowd noise. You're never going to please everybody. But just focus on the fact that we have got the wheels turning. We have got boxing going again.
Release that was brought out last week from Frank Warren's side, talking about maybe, getting fighters together, getting these fights made between Buatsi, Yard, and there was a list of maybe about 10 fights.
Yeah.
Talk to me about them. What would you say?
Some of them are realistic, and some of them aren't. Why is Dillian Whyte going to fight Daniel Dubois? How can you even mention that in the same breath when Dillian is has been number one for a world title for about 1,000 days, right? And he's sat there waiting for his world title. Yeah, he's going to drop back down to fight a guy that's only boxed at domestic level. Why? There's no real value in that. Why not a Dubois against one or other? another heavyweight that's coming through Eddie's name, Fabio Wardley or you know, so you know what I mean, around that sort of level. Dillian's not going to do that. But Anthony Yard-Boateng, 100%. Let's get that made. That's a fantastic fight. You know, I know they've tried to make Chris Jenkins and Conor Benn. Again, let's get that made. Let's get these fights between these two promoters made. That's fantastic. You know, but there's so much to it. There's so much to it because it's like we're at fight camp and people are trying to sabotage fight camp. It's like, well, why? So if you're going to do that and then literally a few days later, Old Art and Olive Branch saying, oh, we should get these fights made. That's hard. You know what I mean? That doesn't make your task any easier. But I think both of them need to just forget the past because they both dig each other out. Just forget the past, concentrate on your own shit, and let's try and get these fights made. But the only way that they're going to get made is if both of them are straight with each other. Because I remember when Warren, Maloney hated each other, and then next minute they announced in a press conference they're going to work together and this, we're joining up forces, rah. Lasted about 2 minutes. Lasted about 2 minutes.
Do you think it's actually going to happen? Do you think, even, you know, you're saying it would be great if it did. Everyone wants it to happen. I don't know anyone in boxing who wouldn't want that to happen, for them to join up and these fights to happen. But do you realistically think that is going to happen?
Going on track record, it might happen for a fight or two. But
to make
do I think it'll
fight, maybe?
Sorry?
Maybe the AJ Fury fight, that might be the sort of start of it, and then potentially
even on the undercard of that.
Yeah, possibly. But there's so many things that are in the way that, like I said, I'm looking at track record when everybody got together, you know, Maloney's and Warren's and all them, and nothing happened. They did a big press conference and everything on, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. Nothing happened. Like, literally nothing happened. It's one thing saying it, but then you've got to be straight with each other. Then after you've been out, all right, well, okay, let's do it. Let's work together. This. And then you've got to be straight. You've got to back it up and be straight. And if you can do that, then happy days, shit will happen, you know? But there's also all sorts of things. It's like, what channels are these fights are going to happen on? Yeah. That's a big thing, because what you've got one channel that gets, and again, I'm going back to views, but that's profile of fighters, right? You've got to understand, fighters want the biggest profile, because with the biggest profile comes more money, but also their profile rises so that it's easier for them to get endorsements. Fighters, believe it or not, need endorsements to survive and to be full-time in boxing, right? So if their profile's higher, they're going to attract more sponsorships and more endorsements. If they're boxing on a channel where not many people are going to be watching and they're not going to get the same promotion, then they're not going to get the same endorsements as the guys that are on the bigger channels. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's a stumbling block. That's how fighters think. You know, I know because fighters talk to me about it. So it's a case of what channel is it going to be on. If it can be some sort of cross promotion sort of thing, then brilliant. And then those that have got BT Sport will watch BT Sport, and those that have got Sky will watch Sky, and you're not going to lose out. And then you know, then it works. But I don't know. That's not you know, it's not down to me. I'm not involved in it, so it's hard for me to comment on how it's going to work. I just want it, you know. I want it to work. I want, as a fan, I want to see the biggest and the best fights. You know, as someone that trains Lerrone Richards, who boxed on BT Sport, I want BT Sport numbers to be high. Yeah. So when Lerrone boxes, we get loads of views.
Before we let you go, Dave, everyone loves a big American fight or good American fight, and the one that got announced in the last week, I think it was Danny Garcia fighting Errol Spence Jr.
What a fight. Listen, what a comeback from Errol Spence. He's thrown it down. He's let people know. He's had a car smash. We were like, wow, he's going to be the same again. He's had bad injuries. He's come back. He's had time out. He hadn't come back and thought, I just want a soft, easy pickings. He's picked a good fighter. He's picked a good name. He's picked a big fighter to go straight in. That is big balls, and that is saying to the division, I'm the man.
Yeah.
I love that. I can't wait for that fight.
How do you see it playing out? I know it's difficult to say because Errol's been out for a long, long time. Danny Garcia's not fought for a while as well, to be honest. But
yeah,
it seems to be with Al Haymon fights, the fight maybe that once a year. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's the only problem. I think it's great what Al Haymon's done, and he's made a lot of fighters wealthy and stuff. But also, I think he's, from the outside looking in, his fighters don't box enough to become like superstars. They've got the potential there, and he's got the great names and stuff. But they should be superstars, and not just in boxing. They should be superstars across the board because they're great fighters. And Danny Garcia, it's like, what's happened to Danny Garcia? But he can fight, man. He can fight, and that's a great fight. I'm looking forward to that fight. I can't wait for that fight. But I think Errol Spence.
Yeah,
I think Errol Spence, but it's a great fight, and I love his attitude. I love it. And the fight I want to see moving forward, I want to see Errol Spence against Terence Crawford. I love Terence Crawford. I'm a big fan of Terence Crawford. I want to see Crawford in some big marquee fights, some big name fights, And again, he's another one, and he's with Top Rank, and what's happening? Get the big fights done. Get the big fights done for him. He's not like he's a young kid, He's been around a long time. He's unified. He's been in some big trade fights. He's accomplished a lot, but he should be a superstar, and he needs to be in the massive fights before age starts catching up on him.
Makes sense. Cool. Dave.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great talking to you. Great.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Dave, whenever this sort of fight gets announced and we get closer to fight week or fight night, hopefully we can talk to you again regarding Lerrone Richards. And hopefully when boxing's back on, I'll see you at some point as well in the circles.
Yeah, wicked.
So,
hopefully we get fans back soon, because that's listen, fight camp was fantastic. It was brilliant. But I miss the fans, man. I miss the atmosphere. Even like when you were watching Terry Harper and Natasha Jonas, fights like that, and there's no crowd. You're just missing it. Do you know what? So what the hardest thing is as well is when you've won. There's no vibe. There's no atmosphere, and it's that takes it away from the fighters. But listen, the wheels are turning, and hopefully we get fans back. Or either that, or they should just open up a massive bar all the way around the ring and say it's a pub, and then everybody can come anywhere.
That's true. That's true.
Good idea, actually. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Nice one. Cheers.
So we had some great guests on this week's show, Joseph Parker and David Coldwell. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave some comments. Stay tuned. We have lots more coming up, and we'll see you next time.